find true happiness and everlasting joy. Go to LordTeachMeToPray.com and click on the red button today. It's free. Approved by the USCCB.
Attention ladies, are you looking for spiritual renewal to grow stronger in your faith? Come join the Rosary of Our Lives annual women's retreat on Saturday, February 18th at St. Joseph Catholic Church in Richardson at 8 a.m. The event will feature guest speaker and retreat director Amy Eck. Join us for a day of reflection as we reimagine this classic symbol of Catholic faith, prayerfully imitating Mary by pondering in our hearts the loving presence of God in the Rosary of Our Lives. Visit josephcatholic.org to register.
Hi, this is Walter Crawford with Homeschool Connections, a proud sponsor of the Guadalupe Radio Network. I'm excited to announce the start of a new organization, Good Counsel Careers. We are dedicated to helping high school students make the transition from high school to the next phase of their life, whether that direction is in business, academia, trades, religious life, military, or even a gap year. Through our many resources, your teen will define their interests and values to develop a keen understanding of how they can find God's plan for them. More information can be found at goodcounselcareers.com.
Welcome to Back to the Father, a show about the journey of life focused on our final end, which is God Himself, our loving Father. And now, here's your host, Dave Palmer.
All right, and welcome to Back to the Father. That was it's very jarring, I know, to hear. And here's your host, Dave Palmer. And it's not Dave Palmer. Hi, this is Sissel Anderson. We're so happy you're joining us. We're going to go to Dave in just a second. He's setting a couple things up. He's not camera ready, basically, is what he decided. He needed to get the makeup team out of there and everything. But good afternoon, everyone. So happy to see you all. We have a really great topic today that I can't explain for you. But let me introduce our wonderful intern, William, who is joining us and taking care of all the cameras. So, William, thank you so much for doing that.
Of course, of course.
I like it. You know, maybe we should just never go to Dave. We could just keep it going between the two of us. We could just do that. Actually, this is kind of perfect because right before we started, I was like, Dave, don't forget to let me do a plug for the car raffle, but I don't have to because I could say, Sissel, time to do a plug for the car raffle. Did you know that the GRN is doing a car raffle right now? You probably do, but I just want to remind you that we're raffling off a Mercedes-Benz CLA 250 Coupe. Do you even know what kind of car that is? Besides the picture that you see over here.
No idea. I've seen the picture before, but I have no idea what it is.
It's a very nice sedan. It's called a coupe, and it is in polar white. So this is what it looks like. I don't know how well you can see that. But the tickets are on grnonline.com/raffle, and I will post it down below as well. So you can get some tickets, because I think it personally would be really, really cool if someone who is a faithful watcher of Back to the Father won that. Would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much time I have to keep buying for Dave.
Come on, you're doing so well.
I'm doing really well? Okay,
all
perfect. Right. So, yeah, we'll talk about... Also, I just want to, real quick explain the puffy jacket situation over here. The studio is very cool today. And so I was like, I'm either going to be freezing or I'm going to be a marshmallow. And I decided to go with the marshmallow. So...
it's better than freezing.
It is better than freezing. I don't know how you're doing this, William. You're not.
I mean, I'm usually cold in the studio, but it's even worse when I'm wearing short sleeves. So I just wear long sleeves every time I come in the studio. So it works out.
All right. Yeah. Well, again, thank you all so much for joining us. And Buddy's here. He said, good afternoon. Sorry, I've missed you all. We've missed seeing you too, Buddy. Glad that you're back today. I think we're live pretty much everywhere, except for I'm not seeing the GRN YouTube page as being live. Can you check that?
Yes, I think I'm on it.
You're on it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we got a few people watching. Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
then
cool.
fine. It doesn't like mine.
Now, did we figure out that issue from last week?
I looked at it a little bit. I didn't see anything in particular. I couldn't find an exact problem, so I'm really hoping if anyone does notice any audio problems again this week, I looked into it. I didn't see anything wrong.
It was the weirdest thing because whenever we would go to a slide, the audio would be perfect, and whenever we were on camera, the audio sounded very tinny. So,
and I'm not sure what happened there. So yeah, if that's happening again today, let us know. It was kind of hard to test this week because also Switchboard was down for 2 days, so we were having technical.
Right, so somebody out there who's watching, let us know: does the audio sound okay, or does it sound like right now? If it sounds okay, then we're good. But when we go to a slide, does it change? Or what have you. So let's kind of test things out a little bit.
John Bruce is commenting, it looks like you're broadcasting live from Fairbanks. I think it's because of how
I know. That's why I asked for it. I said, you going skiing or something? What is up with that? It's not that cold in here.
But I don't have a lighter jacket than this. So I'm stuck in the marshmallow. I apologize. Hey, think about it this way. Someone could be scrolling on their phone and they're like, why is this girl in a ski suit? And then they'll tune in and learn about St. Thomas.
Yeah. It's like a
I'm just promoting the show.
It is cold here in the studio. You know, they say we could be like hanging meat up and it's like a refrigerator. It's very cold, but we're not going to complain about that. All right, so let me explain the show. This is Back to the Father, and this is where we talk about some issue related to St. Thomas Aquinas, okay, and the Summa Theologia, and I love the Summa Theologia. I have devoted a lot of the last 10 years of my life to
introduce that.
to stuff. Oh, yeah. You forgot about that. It's all about car raffles and skiing and Sissel and hats and...
I'm sorry. You were so last minute that I was leading it. And then
you gotta think on your toes.
I did. I thought about the car raffle. I was raising us money so that we could keep doing Back to the Father. I was like, right, I should have said what the show's about.
Yeah, that's all right.
Continue.
That's all right. Okay, so that's all right. It's okay. All is good. All right, so we talk about the Summa Theologia. We've had a lot of different topics. We talk about angels and virtues and habits and epiphany and all kinds of stuff. And so, you know, I was on CDT this morning, and CDT is a chance for me to kind of promote what we're going to do. And Joe McLean has been the host for a long time. So today was Joe's last day. All right, so Joe and Adrian asked if, I was going to come on, as I typically do on Fridays, and they also asked me to do the game show, and so I was going to be on a little bit longer. And I got to thinking, what would be a topic related to Joe leaving CDT? Okay, so today's his last day, and also
they going to write about that in the Summa?
No, he never mentioned that. No. So I'm thinking, well, Thomas talks about a lot of stuff in the Summa, and also Joe didn't make the announcement until today. Okay, so 6 o'clock this morning Central Time, he announces, hey. I'm no longer the host of the show. I've been hosting for over 2 years, and Adrian's going to take over. And so I thought the only thing I could think of is a lot of people are going to be a little jarred and a little jolted. Some of the people are going to be, disappointed and all that. And I thought we inherently change is kind of a strange thing for us. Okay, we're always changing, and things are changing, and new hosts and all that. And I thought, well, let's do something about change. And obviously the opposite of change is immutability. And I thought, okay, there you go. We're going to talk about God's immutability. And then I could tie it in with Joe McLean leaving CDT. And so we're going to start off with just kind of a general conversation about change. And I am going to be sharing with you the 3 reasons why St. Thomas Aquinas says God cannot change. And as I said last week, you guys have been doing this for a long time. We talked about a lot of Thomistic topics, so I'm going to kind of throw that at you all and see if you can figure out why would it be impossible for God to change. Okay. And then secondly, can the human mind... I see that look on William's face. He had the nerve of saying, are we going to have like this deep philosophical discussion? And I was like, well, of course we are, man. We're talking about... what do you think this is, man?
Usually the episodes aren't as deep as they were last week.
Last
week was like deep.
I think what William's saying is that William and Sissel are going to start their own show. Let's call it a little less deep.
This is getting too deep, huh? Okay, so this might border on... too deep. You be the judge of that, okay? But can the human person even conceive of the idea of immutability? And I would say probably not. Okay, we can kind of think about it, but our lives are so wrapped up in change and it's within our very nature to constantly be changing. Every single second we change. And so I don't even think we can conceive.
I don't think it'd be possible. No, honestly. Honestly, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're not changing, because I kind of equate changing with growing to an extent. Although sometimes I think we maybe don't grow, but we're still changing. But like backwards, what is reverse growing? Shrinking?
And this is the one that doesn't want to get deep. Like, what did she just say? I have no idea what
I
she
get
just
accidentally deep. I didn't mean that.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys.
that's a good name of a show.
Accidentally. No, actually, I have decided, like, if I were to ever do a podcast, I would call it Marginally Deep.
Marginally deep, yeah. But, so, and again, I've said many times that when you look at the attributes of God, most of these are things that we can't really get our head around because of the limits of our intellect.
Like the mystery of the Trinity, for example.
Exactly.
Every time my mom talks about that, I'm like, Mom, stop, it's hurting my head.
Yeah. But to me, it's like the proof of God. I mean, the fact that God is so far above us. But when we die and go to heaven, God willing, with God's grace, it's going to make more sense. But I think right now we're so trapped down here in our temporal existence and everything is constantly changing. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And it looks like Victor has gotten very active on social media.
I think we've agreed that I'm taking over. He has some answers too about, like, do we think why God can't change? And so does Forrest.
Oh, yeah, they've already started guessing?
Victor says God cannot change because he's perfect, and Forrest says God is existence, and if he changed, we would cease to exist. So there's two thoughts.
So if he's existence, and existence changes, we cease to exist? Why would that? I don't quite follow that. I mean, he may be right, but I'm trying to think, like, why would we cease to exist just because God changed?
I don't know. I would like to get a follow up though. That would be interesting.
Anyways, we don't. And when we first started doing this, people used to kind of call up and talk on the air every now and then. So if anybody wants to call in and
you're always welcome.
Talk on the air, it's always fun to hear your voice. And I'm sure some of y'all are also CDT listeners. And how did you take that news this morning that Joe McClain is no longer with CDT? That's kind of that was a pretty.
Are we
big...
like the therapy session? Like afterwards, let's talk about guys. Are you okay?
No, we'll just kind of like rattle their brains with a bunch of deep philosophy, so they have something else to think about.
Yeah, distraction. You know? We're the distraction.
We're kind of like the warm bath. Yeah. So. Anyway, so that's the topic, and I must say, William, if you could skip the second, or go through it very quickly, the one that has the picture of the Summa on it, because I have the
I saw that. I skipped it already.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go with this next picture with the little baby in the middle. Do you see that? I don't know if you have it yet.
I don't have it yet.
Would that be like embryo stage or fetus, or what exactly is that?
Fantastic.
Isn't it amazing
question.
How much it looks like a human being? I mean, it is a human being, of course, but how defined it is. I bet you that's like 5 weeks or something. I mean,
5 weeks, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm really glad you have this picture of the changing foliage, Dave, because I was confused as to what picture to put on the email, and I did do a changing.
I know. I asked, my 9-year-old son asked me the other day, Daddy, why do things change? I mean, why are there seasons? Why do we have summer and winter and fall and spring? I mean, of course, some climates don't have as pronounced of seasons, and we don't have them that much in North Texas. But why is there change? I mean, why couldn't we just everything be the same and maybe be born? I mean, think about it. The reason I put that picture up there is that every single one of us used to look like that. Isn't that amazing? To think that we have changed. That much. I mean, we used to be one of those. And of course, traffic I always find interesting because it's just like constant flux and constant change. So anyways, so that's it's also interesting when you see these three reasons why God cannot change, how much all of his attributes are intertwined. Because in talking about immutability, he also references infinity, he references simplicity, he references, certainly, I mean, time and change are very, very much aligned, because with time comes change, and with change comes time. The two are pretty much interconnected. And so if you're inside of time, you're going to change, right? So,
Yeah.
Sure. Forrest kind of followed up with his comment about existence. If God's existence, if he changed, we would cease to exist. And then he said, because the existence would change, what existed before is no longer. So that's what his thought process is. So, yeah.
That's deep.
That.
I mean,
he was like, I'm sorry.
For sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, okay. So, if existence changes, what existed before will cease to exist. I wonder if that is absolutely like. I don't know. Maybe he's right. Maybe that is the case. So, all right. So, can we conceive of being unchangeable? I doubt it. But I think, like I said, that speaks of God's greatness and his amazing qualities. Do y'all remember the 9 principal attributes of God? No, actually 7. The 7 of them that we went over. And were you even part of that program?
I don't feel like it.
Simple.
Yeah, he's simple. Yeah.
He is. Hold on a second.
You wrote this on the email, didn't you?
Yeah. No.
I think you
did he? This last year?
I did.
I believe you did.
I did.
Yeah,
Very good. Yeah.
Email that I sent.
So it's not my ghostwriter when it comes to these.
No, I'm just the ghost email sender.
I don't think they were required. Well, yeah, it does require a ghost. Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't send, Dave. But no, yeah. I do vaguely remember them. I just am worried I'm going to say the wrong ones.
Okay, so in order, the question number 1 is about sacred doctrine. Okay, that our end surpasses our ability to comprehend what our end is, and so we need outside help. Number 2 is about the existence of God, and then in question number 3 of the Summa of like 621 questions, he goes immediately into the attributes. The first one in question number 3 is simplicity. Okay, which, as I mentioned before, is probably the most complicated.
Let's just start off.
Ironically, it's the most, but I think it may be the most important of the other ones because it kind of lays the foundation of all the other ones. And so then he goes into God is perfect, and then God is good, and then God is infinite, God is immutable, eternal, and one. Okay, so those are the 7. I think that's the right order. Okay, so and I think I don't know. I've always said, man, they should be teaching this in grade schools. Just kind of teach this at some kind of simple level because it gets kids to start thinking about God and how He's different from us. And if you think about change and how much we change and how change is tough. I mean, it's kind of we've all had people that we've lost and. 3 months ago, I had a stepfather, and now he's passed away, and there's a whole new life now in our family without our stepfather. And of course, your mother passed away a few years ago. It's tough. Change is tough.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah, most of. I was telling Dave earlier that I am notoriously in my family was the one who did not like change. I literally have to. Victor just wrote, "Change is uncomfortable," which is very true. So a lot of times in my prayer, I'm like, Lord, I don't like this. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not a fan. Help me change this aspect of me that I don't like change, please.
Yeah. That's a. Sister and I were talking about this in the car. Well, you can tell us which one you are like. So, if I was single and I got an apartment, I would go out and I'd get a bed and I'd put it in a certain place in my room, right? I'd get a dresser and I'd put it in the room somewhere, and just the typical rug and all that, and it would be set, okay? And if you left and you visited me 20 years from now, most likely that bed is going to be in the exact same place. The color of the wall is going to be white because it'll never change. And I just hate changing stuff, right? I've had the same job for 17 years. But like my wife, God bless her, she likes to change things. She's like, okay, let's move the bed over here. Not all the time, but every year or so, she likes to change the color of the wall, of the wallpaper, of the walls and stuff like that. So, which one are you more like? Do you like to change, or do you like things to stay static?
I would say, to be completely honest, it's half and half for me. It kind of depends on what I'm changing.
Yeah.
I do change, where maybe every 6 months to a year I will change, where my dresser is located in my room, and I'll move that around. Sometimes I like doing that. But But generally, it kind of just depends on the thing, kind of a half and half.
Yeah.
I think, on little things like that, I also like to rearrange things in the house, but I don't like anything changed, anything emotional, changes, those sort of, anything like that, anything that gets rearranged, I'm like, no,
Yeah, I used to have an old boss, and he was very much in the change camp, but unfortunately, it also came with, like, wives and and stuff like that. Long time ago, had nothing to do with GRN. This is previous many years ago.
There could be some.
So you don't want to be changing out too much of your
Victor says it depends for him too. Some things are temporal.
Yeah. So I think I think it was Victor who said we don't like to change.
It's uncomfortable.
But I think that also when we look at these attributes of God, they're things that generally we desire. Now we desire. Simplicity, of course, we desire perfection and goodness and unity, and so all these things are drawing us towards God because they are His attributes. All right, so are you all ready to go to these 3 reasons why God cannot change?
The deep reasons,
We're going to try to make this very light, Maybe it's all in the delivery, If you deliver it kind of light,
honestly,
it's like, well, that was pretty simple. Did you hear how he explained that? So, all right.
No pressure, Dave. You got to do that.
Did some of the folks out there already start guessing at some of these? Or?
About what?
No, you said one of them already, right? Did Victor or Forrest or somebody
about why God? Well, and Victor had also said that God cannot change because He's perfect.
Oh, okay, and. Yeah, that's I don't know if Thomas says exactly, but you figure if you're perfect and you change even one iota, you can't become any more perfect.
You can only become less perfect then?
Exactly. You can only become less perfect. Because if you said I just notched up that perfection a little bit, well then you weren't perfect in the first place. Right? So you can only become less perfect, and why would you become less perfect? Right. Why would God say, I'm a little tired of this perfection. I think I'm gonna, tap the brakes a little bit, notch it down, all right? All right, so I think that one makes sense. I think it's going to be kind of explained in a certain words, but I think that's a very good one. What else?
Yeah, what I've been told is, I've asked the question before, if nothing is impossible with God, then why couldn't, for example, God change? Like, why couldn't He become an evil God if nothing's impossible with Him? And what I've been told is that it's not that He can't do it, it's that He won't do it. Like, he's never gonna do something like that. I guess because he's like we've been talking about, because He's perfect, He's not gonna go and do something like that, even though He could. He wouldn't.
Now, see, I would disagree with that.
Okay.
I don't think God can be evil.
By His nature.
Yeah, right. Because it's like you can't be a woman. Okay.
Right.
I'm sorry for all the woke folks. Okay.
All of our viewers today.
I don't think so. It's like God can't make 1 + 1 2. I'm sorry, 3. Okay. He can't do that because it would be contrary to His nature. Right? Because God is truth. God and that is not true. And so it's not like you're limiting God's power. He can't make a 3-sided square. Okay, so you're saying, oh, you're limiting God's power. No, you're actually highlighting the fact that He is absolute goodness and truth and perfection, because it's not like, why would God, it's not that He doesn't want to do it, He can't do it, right? But it doesn't limit His abilities, right?
Okay.
Victor commented, sin is an attribute of weakness and God is omnipotent. And it's impossible for God to be evil. And then Forrest said that goes back to being able to create something too heavy for God's lift is contrary to reason.
Yeah, Jimmy Aiken was asked that question on Catholic Answers the other day about this kind of, can God create something so heavy so big that He can't lift it, or like one of those kind of contradiction in terms or something like that. But did you notice William brought back the evil God topic? He's like, man, that was so deep. I'm going to bring it back. I know. It's okay. So let's go over the first one here. There's 3 of them. And if anybody wants to continue to guess, why can God not change? All right. Why would it be totally contrary to His nature to change? And the first one, here on the first slide, says, it is shown that God is altogether immutable, first because it was shown above
that there is some first being whom we call God, and that this first being must be pure act without the admixture of any potentiality, for the reason that absolutely potentiality is posterior to act. Now, everything which is in any way changed is in some way in potentiality. Hence, it is evident that it is impossible for God to be in any way changeable. Okay, does that make sense?
Not really.
No,
I was just saying, can we please get a translation?
Okay. So I am. I'm sitting here in the chair. I'm potentially standing. I'm potentially moving my hand up. All right.
Like how people on the camera couldn't even see if you were.
Yeah, right. Okay, I am. That fetus or embryo or whatever is potentially an adolescent, or potentially so that this mouse right here is potentially being lifted. So but things that make it happen are in act, and the things that are acted upon are in potentiality. So name something in the created world that has no potentiality, like that potentiality just means something could happen to them, that something could change. Okay, something, and you're not going to be able to think of anything. Even an angel potentially could have could change, could move.
Are we talking about any person, or are we talking about anything? Just like
any
like a rock that's just sitting there has potentiality.
It has a potentiality to move.
Yeah, to be
has
shoved.
Potentiality to get crushed. Has a that's like remember when we talked about the whole thing about primary matter? Do you remember that? We talked about deep. Okay, so do you know what primary matter is?
I've never heard of it.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out to all the brilliant people out there on social media land. Does anybody know what primary matter is from a philosophical standpoint? Because to me, this...
I know primary colors.
Close enough, yeah.
Okay,
is it red, yellow, and blue?
Yes.
Okay, red, yellow, and blue. Sorry to steal your
What
thunder
about the secondary colors?
Yeah, purple, orange, and green. All right, so primary... Okay, I want to give everybody a chance.
Give everyone a chance to type here.
Okay, so does anybody know what primary matter is? This will kind of blow you away. I just think it's a fascinating concept, but it's a real thing.
Victor says primary matter are human persons, angels, maybe. That's his answer.
Human persons, angels, maybe?
Yes.
I don't understand. Human persons, angels, maybe. Oh, you mean we're primary matter?
Yes. And then comes things like rocks, which are inanimate. He's question marking.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Okay, he's just taking some guesses here. Okay, so primary matter.
It's better than my primary colors.
Yeah, a little deeper. So if God creates something, like we believe that God creates what is it called, ex nihilo, like out of nothing, right?
Right.
So can God create a star, right? Let's just say God. Well, stars are gaseous, but let's just say God creates
something completely new.
Yeah, or I mean even something like I think it would even fit like a human person is created. But let's just say God decides to create a rabbit, okay? Just kind of out of nowhere, okay? So boom, we got a rabbit, okay? So the form, combined with a matter to create a composite being, right? Uh-huh. So what the philosophers try to discuss is, well, where was that matter before it joined with form, okay? So that matter was somewhere in potentiality. And you think like, well...
Does God just have a store of matter?
Like some big storehouse of matter.
It's like Santa's workshop, he's just like...
Or like even, I'm trying to think if this fits, but like when you and I, or any of us were conceived, me almost, over 56 years ago, that matter at one point didn't exist, okay? Mm-hmm. And then it was fused with an animate soul, and then it started to grow. So where did that matter, that kind of, where does it come from? Okay, so philosophers would say it's primary matter. It exists, but it it doesn't have physical form yet, but it's in potentiality to have physical form, but it has to kind of be somewhere, so to speak.
It would have to be with like a higher being, right? Because I know, like, even though, I think I brought this up before, but Aristotle, even though he didn't believe in like the God we believe in as Christians, he believed that there was a higher being. There had to be something that created something down below or on Earth. So that would be like the matter would have to come from a higher being, which is God. So that's where it would come from.
Yeah, you come from them, but like, where is it? Like, Sissel's thinking like the storehouse, like all this just matter kind of lying around, So anyways, all right. So that's the first thing. So God has no potentiality. Nothing can happen to God. God can't move. God can't change his mind. Even though Scripture sometimes says like he regretted that he ever created humankind. But God can't regret things. God can't be like, oh, by golly, I wish I hadn't done that. And so, but again, it's almost impossible for us to put our head around that because our whole life has changed. Our whole life is potentiality. Everything that we can see right now can change. Okay, this camera can knock over. This cup can spill, this pen can break.
Hopefully not during the show.
Yeah, why did I think of all these destructive things? But the whole world, everything is a potentiality. Okay, and so things are constantly changing. And I remember I used to run around I used to live in a street that had a circle. I think it was like maybe, I don't know, it's like 8 times around it was a mile, and it was so cool because I was always jogging, and so that's how every time I would pass the same place when I'm jogging, it would be maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, but it was so interesting that nothing was ever the same. I mean, like
the sun was hitting it differently.
Yeah, but even with people, like if some guy's out there raking his yard, it's like the weirdest thing. Like 10 minutes later, he's gone.
Yeah.
Not that he's just like in a different place. He's done. I mean, or if there's kids playing, most of the time I come back around, maybe there were 4 kids and now there's 2, but there's that hardly ever do you just run around and say, well, that's exactly what was happening last time I ran around. It's like total flux, always changing.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So
I forgot earlier that Mary had commented about why God can't change, and she had said humans have a linear perspective, but God is always in the now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Always in the now. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so that's the first one, potentiality and actuality. Okay, next one, next slide. Secondly, because everything which is moved remains as it was in part and passes away in part,
and what is moved from as what is moved from whiteness to blackness remains the same as to substance. Thus, in everything which is moved, there is some kind of composition to be found. But it has been shown above that in God there is no composition, for he is altogether simple. Hence it is manifest that God cannot be moved.
Okay, let me try to translate this one.
Well, you jumped on that one.
I probably won't be able to. But my thinking is that basically, if like, okay, I move this from here to here.
Okay, does everybody see what you're doing?
Okay. Hello, I'm taking this, by the way, car raffle.
You're going to get this car raffle in one way or the other.
So if I have it over here, and I move it over to here, it's the same, but it's not the same. Is that not
well, the substance has remained the same.
But it's changed because now it's like in a different position, and it's a different... Is that what it's saying? Or
I think that may be more like potentiality and actuality.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he's talking about something going from whiteness to blackness, right? So
if I took this over here, painted it a different color, and then...
in its substance it didn't change.
Its substance didn't change, but its appearance it did.
Yeah. And the substance...
Do you have a better example?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Does it make sense to you?
Sort of. I mean, I was thinking more along the lines of, it says simple in the text, so God is so simple, and we are not exactly. We are, like you said, we're always changing. We're not simple like God is, which would mean if God is that simple, like on the highest level of simple, then he couldn't change because he's like 110% simple. So I mean, Did I kind of get it?
No. I'm trying to figure it out myself. I'm not like waiting around. So you
see if I got it wrong.
Simpletons to try to figure this out.
Oh,
Because when you talk about composition, because the main thing about simplicity is that Thomas says God doesn't have a body. Okay, so a body is always going to move. A body is always composite. Okay, it's going to have matter and form. God doesn't have matter, doesn't have form. And so he's not a composite. He can't move. Everything that has a physical composition is able to be moved, and God doesn't have any physicality to it. Okay, so that's part of his simplicity, and also that his existence and his essence are the same. That's kind of hard for us to get our head around, that existence and essence can be the same in a a being like God. So yeah, I think it just has to do with the fact that he talks about movement, he talks about simplicity, substance. Yeah. So what's everybody else saying out there?
Everyone's silent, Dave, because everyone's confused. You just sent everyone into a crisis. An
existential crisis. I love talking about this, and I don't claim to have all the answers, but my question is whether when you talk about composition, does that always mean a physical composition? Because if it's a physical composition, then it's easy. I mean, because anything that's physical can move.
But I feel like...
And anything that's physical is taking up specific space. And so it can't be infinite because it's in a particular space, right?
Yeah, but you're thinking more like spiritual, mental sort of situation. That would be interesting.
Yeah, like an angel has substance.
Right.
An angel is a substance, but it doesn't have physical, but an angel, I don't think, would have composition. So... All right, I think it's time to move on.
Please tell them.
I love when you see people start to drop off and they're like, I think I'm gonna go have go make myself a cup of coffee.
William wasn't tied to doing the show, he probably would have dropped off. He's over there.
We should put everybody on camera. Like on a Zoom call. Then we know exactly where they leave.
Or you just see when they mentally space out and they're like. I'm always very happy that when we have you're reading the quotes from the Summa, that the PowerPoint is up, so I can sit there being like,
you're right. Yeah, you don't have to look a certain way. Okay, I think the third one is probably the easiest to understand.
Why did we start with the third?
I'm doing them in the order that he did. I didn't write the Summa, okay? Okay, thirdly, because
everything which is moved acquires something by its movement and attains to what it had not attained previously. Okay, so I like to say the only reason
we move is to improve where we are, or our situation, okay? Like if you see, let's just say, Patty walking from her office into the kitchen, the only reason she would do that is because there's something dissatisfying her.
Yeah, there's no food in her office.
or even
like
moving from the kitchen into her office.
Or like the sun's in your eye and you're gonna move over to avoid it.
Right. So you're never gonna move physically because I'm in a great place here, but even though that's a worse place, I'm still gonna move there. The only reason you'd move is to improve yourself, right? It's like you look at that picture of the freeway and you got all these cars and you think every single one of them is trying to achieve some level of a higher perfection. Okay, otherwise they would not be moving. They would be sitting on their couch still, and they would have never gotten up, they would have never gotten in the car, and they would have never driven. Okay, so isn't that kind of a cool thought about it? Like everybody's is trying to do something to better themselves.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, why would they move otherwise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I move.
I think it's interesting that he said that the evidence that seems to point to why God would be immovable. I mean, it's interesting when it says everything which is moved acquires something by its movement, which would mean if God were to move, if God were to change, something would have to move him. But he's the highest being, so no one can really do that.
Yeah.
So I would point to that.
But couldn't he could move himself, couldn't he?
Right, but someone else could move him.
Yeah.
To change.
So even if God said, I'm just going to move myself. It's not like somebody's moving me, but I'm going to go from A to B. You'd have to ask, well, either A is better than B or B is better than A. So one of your states is better than the other, and therefore at some point you were imperfect. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's
yeah.
That's not that deep. I mean, if I said, I don't know. Okay, let's move on.
Quick question. So if you're talking a lot about things like, okay, we move to improve in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes, like, okay, you're on a crowded train, and there's a pregnant woman comes on, you give up your seat for her. Obviously, your improvement, your physical, like, change is not an improvement per se, because you might, if you're clumsy like me, you're probably going to end up falling over into somebody.
I'm the pregnant woman.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But your spiritual...
The situation improves.
Yeah, improves. So it's not always necessarily that, like, you physically improve, but it's going to be like you, as a person, probably improve because you've been, you've let someone...
Oh, yeah. So, an even more drastic example, something that came up in my class yesterday. Let's say some gunman comes into my house and points a gun at my wife, and I jump in front of my wife and take a bullet and die. Obviously, I have not improved my situation, but I've improved the overall situation. Because otherwise, I would not have done it if it didn't improve something.
I was going to say, technically, if you got to go to heaven, then your situation would have improved greatly.
True.
Yeah.
But yes, I get the idea. Okay.
Or even let's just say in another case where I don't die, like some boiling water is falling from the roof onto my small child, and I fall in front of it and get scalded and scream and yell. Okay, I didn't get to heaven, but I'm in immense pain.
Right.
And you might say, well, that didn't improve your situation,
right.
But it improved something.
Yeah,
right?
It improved the situation.
So I don't think there's an example that you can think of where somebody moves and there isn't improvement in some way. I mean, because I know it may be that the end result was an improvement. Like, I walk out in the hallway and an anvil drops on me, and but.
It's could it sometimes be the perceived improvement?
They wouldn't.
We're taking the action because we think it's going to be an improvement.
Yeah.
It may not actually. Like you said, you could decide to sidestep over here, but a piano falls on your head.
Right.
And because you're like, the sun was in my eye, so let me just move this way. And
yeah, I go into the bushes to get my son's football, and I get stung by 14 wasps.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, that didn't
help.
But my initial movement was for improvement.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good? Okay.
That makes sense logically, yeah.
Okay. All right, so you think about it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, but since God is infinite,
comprehending in himself all the plenitude of perfection of all being, he cannot acquire anything new, nor extend himself to anything whereto he was not extended previously. Hence, movement in no way belongs to him. So some of the ancients, constrained as it were by the truth, decided that the first principle was immovable. Okay, so
I don't know. It makes sense to me. It's like, why would God move? Why?
He's omnipresent, so he wouldn't need to move.
Yeah.
Well, why would he change?
You're right. Like, well, what would he change to if he's already everywhere?
Yeah, right.
What would he do? Everywhere twice? Like
yeah, everywhere again.
Yeah. What would be the point of that?
Yeah. See, anyways. I kind of enjoy this because we're thinking about God, and it makes us think about how the things that are very, very common in our life is really things that God doesn't ever have to deal with.
Yeah.
Like movement and change.
Well, just like the same thing, if he needed to move because he needed to be somewhere he wasn't, that would mean that he's not omnipresent. Like, it would, it's like the circle of, you know what I'm trying to say.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Apparently not.
Say yes, William.
I know, he can't tell a lie.
That's right.
He can't tell a lie. No, I'm saying that, like, it would be that idea that he'd have to make an improvement, which he doesn't, which meant that he wasn't perfect. That's what I'm trying to say.
So it's like, I guess it's almost impossible to make a comparison, but let's just say you're lying on your couch and you're in an absolute perfect state of, nothing, you don't want anything to change. Well, you're never going to get up. You're never going to do anything. I mean, you're just perfect. You're just in the state of absolute perfection, and why would you ever change that? Okay, and you can't change it, because then you would no longer be perfect, and one of your attributes just went away.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think if one of the attributes falls, it's like
They all
fall. It's like a house of cards. They all go. So you lose one, you lose simplicity, you lose them all. Okay?
Yeah.
So I looked at there's a lot of comments. Most
Actually, there hasn't been anything in the last few minutes, Dave.
Oh, no, there hasn't?
Everyone away.
Okay. So everybody's like, okay. Can you guys play some trivia or something? Of course, that's what everybody's thinking. So, all right. Any other
questions?
Yeah, I would say these kinds of topics are very hard to understand completely. They're like one of those mysteries, like God had a begin, like asking the question, how did God have a beginning? Because, we all think of, we all had a beginning, so why wouldn't God? Like, it's one of those mysteries like that, or like the mystery of the Trinity, like things we can't really wrap our heads around. We can think about them.
Human brains.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we can think about them, and it can hurt our brain, but we can't really fully understand it until we get to heaven.
Forrest has a nice little summary. He goes, it seems to me the bottom line is that God has no potential for anything better than being. Earlier, the mention of if he were to change, it meant that he wasn't perfect before. So yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's a good summary statement.
That's the tweetable version.
That's what we were trying to get at the entire time, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so no, that's perfect. I'm going to read this one more time. It seems that the bottom line is God has no potential for anything better than being, better than what he is. Earlier, the mention of it, if he were to change, it would mean that he wasn't perfect before. Yeah. Yep. All right. I don't think we can improve upon that.
Nope. Yeah. The end.
See, if Forrest had just said that 30 minutes ago, we wouldn't have had to go through all that.
Right.
And I know all the St. Thomas's reasoning behind it, but that's like the thesis statement.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you imagine being St. Thomas Aquinas. And,
no, I can't.
And just
time.
And just having this superior intellect and thinking these things through, and that's why that one time he was at the table with the king and all the people, and he said, and he slammed his hand on the table. He said that'll settle the Manichaeans. That famous story that G.K. Chesterton.
Yeah.
Because he had a thought and something popped into his mind, and he couldn't just say, well, when I get back to the house,
I'll write that note. You know what's crazy to me is I bet he ran into people all the time where he tried to explain. Try to explain something to them, and in his head he's like, I've got it, it's like perfect, and the person's just like, looking like William
kind of like me on this show.
William and I are like staring like, no, bro, we don't got it, and he just
William and I have doing,
are like staring like, no, bro, we don't got it, and he
has it in his head, and he understands it.
Takes a long time to think about these things.
Yes.
Can't relate.
Takes a long time to think about these things philosophically. Takes more than a day.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's why we do the show on Friday, the weekend to kind of,
Have our Friday.
If only I didn't have a lot of homework.
All right, Joke?
I do.
Do you want to transition ourselves into the next phase of the program? Hopefully Diane's...
It's that time of the show where we give Dave Summa to think about.
And he gives it right back.
Da, 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 da.
Right back.
With a better ending. This thing.
All right.
We give Dave Summa
So
to
is this
think
going to be a joke from that same talk?
All right.
Or are we
We give Dave
So is this going to be a joke from that same talk? Or
Unfortunately not. All of my good jokes
that
from
great.
that
The other ones are-
monologue or that
The
speech
two I gave
are
last week were the
not
best
that great.
ones,
The other
but I
ones
pulled
are...
from
You
the
think that
internet.
the
The
talk
two
was
I gave last
relatively
week were the
well
best
received,
ones,
or-
so I had
I
to pull them
thought so.
from
You
the
think that
internet.
the talk was relatively well received? Or?
I thought so. I mean, like,
wasn't
when
one
I
of the
went to
finalists, but
the competition,
but
I
everyone
didn't
did
get
laugh.
far. Like, I
Like,
wasn't one of the
it wasn't like
finalists,
a
but
top-notch speech,
but
like
everyone did
everyone
laugh. Like,
had
my,
better speeches,
it
but
wasn't like
I mean,
a
overall,
top-notch
it was still-
speech
it
like
was
everyone else had.
everyone liked it,
Had
yeah.
better speeches,
All right,
but
so you
I mean,
got it.
overall,
Yeah.
it was still pretty good. Everyone liked it. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I had to
got a
pull
new
one.
joke.
I had to pull one from
I've
the
got
internet because
one
I
here.
couldn't think of any myself.
What did the horse
So
say after
I've
it
got
tripped?
one here. What did the horse say after it tripped?
What did the horse say after it tripped?
Gosh, that's it's going to be one of those things where it's like as soon as you say it, it's like, yeah,
gosh, that's it's going to be one of those things where it's like as soon as you say it, it's like,
I got nothing.
Gosh, I should have thought of
Mm-hmm.
that.
I have no idea. And I cannot get up.
No, oh my gosh.
Help! I have fallen and I cannot get up.
Oh my gosh.
Giddy up.
Giddy up. Yes.
Giddy up.
Giddy up.
Should have used that when you were talking.
Okay. Should have used that one in your talk.
I do have trivia. Let me see.
All right, dude, do you have trivia?
I promised when I started this, it was like a good idea.
I promised when I started this.
Which means that it no longer is a good
See, which means that it no longer is a good
No, so basically,
I don't know. I think y'all can
impossible?
get a couple of them. I don't know beyond that. I'm gonna
We'll
let
be
it
the
go.
judge of that.
I think y'all can get a
So
couple
basically,
of
I
them.
started with the idea of
beyond that. I'm
unchanging
gonna let it
things,
be.
right? Because that's what we're
It
talking
is what it
about.
So basically, I started with the
What are
idea
some
of
facts
unchanging
about things
things,
that
right?
are
That's what
unchanging?
we're
And I was looking up
talking
various things, but they were all so
What are
vague,
some
and it would be
facts
difficult
about
to
things
formulate a
that
game.
are
And then I started thinking about what things have been
also vague,
gone
it would be
going on for a
difficult
long
to formulate
time,
a game. And then I
which
started thinking about
ultimately
what
ended up with
the
the top 10
long
longest
time.
running TV
Which
shows.
ultimately ended up with
Because-
the top 10 longest running TV shows.
Listen, it made sense in my head.
Oh wow.
What?
Then as I was like actually writing it up, I
Listen,
said,
it made sense in my head, okay? And then as I was like,
think
actually
about it
writing it up, I
this
suddenly
way.
went,
Those slots on the TV.
The top 10
Think
longest
about it this
running
way.
TV shows.
Those slots on the
That's what the
TV.
idea was. And
They
some
were
are
unchanging.
ongoing, unchanging.
Yeah, no, I think
I
that's
have a-
So that's what the idea
decades
was.
of
And some
life
are
experience
ongoing.
over William, and I don't
Okay,
know
now I
how
have
much you
watching
TV shows,
decades
so
of life
how much
experience
knowledge
over
you,
William, and I don't know
have
how
of
much
this.
you
So
were
I
watching
probably
TV
have
shows.
an advantage.
Not much at all.
Knowledge you
Probably.
have of
The
this.
audio
I
is being
probably
weird
have
again,
an
I don't know
advantage
why.
here, but
Probably,
all
yeah.
things are
I
possible.
did
Yeah, we'll
Audio's
see.
being
The audio's
weird
acting
again.
right tonight.
I'll get some advice from people who are
tried.
better
I did
at
try. I'll
OBS
try
than I
again.
am.
The audio is acting
Yeah,
right tonight.
I'll
Again
get some
for next
advice
week.
from people who are
Okay.
better
Some
at
tests and they were
OBS
fine
than I am.
then, but
And we'll try to fix that again.
I wonder if one of the cameras is picking up audio.
Yeah, they're
So
fine
just
then,
start
but-
guessing some of the.
Okay,
One of the
so-
cameras
there's
is picking
10?
up audio.
Do you want us to just start
And I guess
guessing
we'll just
some
go
of the
with
shows?
yeah, so there's
either
10.
do you all want to just shout them out or want to go back
I
and
guess
forth?
we'll
to
just
try to
go
guess?
with
Back and
maybe
forth.
Back and
either
forth. Okay,
if
you
you
go
want to
ahead.
shout
You
them
can
out
start.
or want to go back and
Okay.
forth to try to guess.
And if
Back
it's on the
and
top
forth.
10,
Back
then
and forth.
go.
Okay, you go ahead. You can start.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Sounds
And if
good.
it's on the top 10, then you get
Okay.
a point. And if it's not, you don't.
So,
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Sounds good. Okay. So.
And these are just TV shows.
Just TV
not movies.
shows,
Okay.
not movies.
Okay.
And these are
obviously,
TV,
since
just
they're
TV
longest
shows,
running, you do
not
have to go back
movies.
a bit
Okay.
sometimes. Some of them
Okay.
are still ongoing. I'll
And
give you
obviously,
that.
since
But
the
some of
longest
them,
running, you do have to go back a
obviously
bit.
started-
These are
sometimes.
TV
Some of them are still
shows.
ongoing. I'll give you
Can
that.
it
But
be?
some of them.
Well, we'll
Okay.
just.
Obviously,
go
some
I'm
of
ahead.
them
gonna put this out. Not that I think that you all
Can it
know a
be-
bunch of
well,
reality
we'll
shows. No
just-
reality
go
shows.
And I'm
ahead.
gonna
Okay.
just I'm gonna
End
put
up
this
on
out.
this.
Not that I think that
It's
you
all
know
like
a bunch
scripted
of reality
television.
shows,
Okay.
no reality shows or anything like that.
So
Okay.
It's all like
TV
scripted
shows with those
television.
count.
Okay.
All right.
Some,
Okay.
maybe,
Uh,
maybe.
So, like kid TV shows, would those count
Heard of a
as well?
couple, but I
Okay.
Oh,
cannot
this is a
remember
good
them
sign.
right
Just
now.
having a hard time
No,
thinking
not
of
at
the
all.
first one.
I've heard of a
Um,
couple, but I
Oh,
cannot
this is a
remember
good
them
sign.
right now.
Daniel
No,
Tiger's
no,
the
no.
first one.
No.
No.
Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood.
Gunsmoke.
Yes,
No.
that's number
No.
3. Number 3 ran from 1955 to
Yeah,
1975.
that's
Oh,
number
wow.
3. Number 3 ran from 1955
Twilight
to
Zone.
1975, so 20 years.
Ooh, really, really good one, but I didn't
Oh,
make the cut.
Twilight Zone.
It's probably one of the top 20, though. I imagine.
Ooh, really, really good one, but I didn't make
Bonanza.
the cut.
Okay.
It's probably one of the top 20.
Sadly,
though.
Bonanza
yeah,
only
I'd
was
say, yeah.
68.
Bonanza.
Sorry, 58 to
No.
72.
No?
Sadly,
That's
Bonanza
all.
only was 58 to 72.
Okay.
That's 14
What's
years.
that one
Okay.
called from the
Beaver. What's
Leave
that?
It to Beaver?
What's
No,
called?
that was only a
The
few
50s.
seasons.
Same
Uh,
thing. Cheers.
Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver?
Leave It to
No,
Beaver.
that was
No.
only a few seasons.
No, it's
Okay.
not.
Okay.
Again, it
Cheers.
probably was maybe the top 20 or 30,
Cheers?
but
Yeah,
not
okay.
top
Okay.
10.
the Andy
Okay.
Griffith.
Again, it probably was maybe
Nope.
the
Nope.
top 20 or 30. but
Yeah,
not
okay.
top 10.
Ed
The Andy
Sullivan
Griffith Show.
Nope.
Nope.
No, not the Ed Sullivan Show.
Are those
Ed
kind of
Sullivan Show?
shows allowed? Okay.
A
No,
show
not
like
the Ed
that?
Sullivan Show.
Yes, technically,
Are
but
those
I'm
kind
going
of
to tell you right now,
shows
no
allowed?
talk show is in
Okay.
here.
Show like
Tonight
that?
Show is not on.
Yes,
No, it's not
technically,
on.
but I'm going
Okay,
to tell you right now.
maybe
it's
they-
not.
maybe they did not
Those
include
Not Tonight
it's
Show
not.
is not on.
No, it's not.
So something
Okay,
like
so that
maybe
these are
they-
not
maybe they
those
did not
kind of shows.
include it.
These are just like sitcoms.
These are
So
scripted
something like 60
Okay.
minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So these are just like
These are
These are
sitcoms.
scripted
Okay.
shows.
Okay.
Forest Gets
Okay.
Green Acres.
Does anyone in the
Not
comments
that
have
one
any
either.
We can go ahead and let them.
you-
Ooh,
wait.
Forest
Oh,
Gets
yeah.
Green
So they get
Acres.
a right.
I guess the audience is all.
We can go ahead and let
one.
them.
How about
one.
Gun?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they get it right.
I guess the audience is all. They're all one.
How about Gun? Oh wait, no, you
There's a
said
couple
Gun.
ones that I'm surprised y'all
Seinfeld.
haven't maybe thought
Not
of.
Seinfeld.
No?
Happy Days.
Okay.
There's a couple
No,
ones that I'm
no,
surprised
no.
y'all haven't
Nope.
maybe thought of.
Think more.
Happy
Think
Days?
more.
No.
Procedural
Nope.
dramas.
Think more Gilligan's Island.
Not Gilligan's Island.
Procedural
You don't know
drama.
what the term procedural
I
drama
have
is?
no idea.
It means basically shows like cop, detective, firefighter, those kind of
I have
shows
no
that are
idea.
a procedure that happens in real life, but they make a drama about it.
Firefighter, those kind of shows that are a procedure that happens in real life, but they make a drama about it.
Oh, okay.
NCIS or
Like
Just maybe stop there.
NCIS or
has been on since 2003.
so that
Maybe
is
stop
one.
Yes, that
there.
is one. So it's on
NCIS
20th year.
has been on since 2003.
Oh,
That's
that
number
is one.
7.
Yes, that is one. So
Okay.
it's on in its 20th year.
Diane, do you have any
Oh.
other
That's
So
stuff?
number
we've only
7.
gotten 2 so far?
Yep.
We've got
So this is,
Gunsmoke.
apparently
Diane,
this
do
is
you have
harder
any
than I
expressions?
thought.
So we've only gotten 2
Sorry.
so far.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gunsmoke.
Apparently this was harder.
Yeah, Gilligan's Island.
Yeah,
is
it
not.
definitely is
Sorry.
harder.
Yeah.
Your mic wasn't on, Diane.
Gilligan's Island was only on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gilligan's
that's
Island's not.
So.
Yeah,
No.
Diane. Your mic wasn't on, Diane.
Gilligan's Island was only on for like 6 years.
I Love Lucy.
No,
let's
I Love
see.
Lucy was on for 8 years.
I Love Lucy?
Yeah, I do.
No, I Love Lucy's
I should have been on the receiving end of this one.
Say, you like know all this stuff.
Yeah,
Apparently.
Brady Bunch?
I should have been
Nope,
on the
they were
receiving
only
end
on
of this
for
one.
Saved
by the Bell. Nope. Apparently.
Brady
You know
Bunch?
all this stuff?
Nope.
Yeah,
They're only on
I
for
grew up watching a lot of
off the top
TV
of your
shows,
head.
but I know
You know
the
all
old
this
ones and I know
stuff?
how long those were because we.
Off the
I
top-
owned
off
those.
the top of your head.
But
Not
I
MASH
know
either,
the
though
old
I'm
ones
so-
and I
yeah,
know
that
how
one-
long those were because we. I
Oh,
owned
MASH.
them. Not MASH either, though. Yeah, that one.
Williams is
Star
giving
Trek.
up.
No.
Any other? No.
Is
Some of these I think
I
y'all
can't
Williams
think of
is giving
anyone.
up.
No.
right,
Any
but
other-
not
no.
necessarily. Some of them
Some of
I
these I
don't
think
know,
you'll
but
go, oh yeah, right, but not necessarily.
There's one other
Some
really
of them I don't think
classic
you know,
old one
but-
started in the 50s. About a dog.
There's one other really
Lassie?
classic old
Yes.
one.
Wow.
Lassie, 54 to 72.
Oh, really?
Lassie?
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Lassie, 54 to 72.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
All right,
So we
so
got NCIS,
Do you all give up?
Lassie, Gunsmoke.
Yeah,
I do.
I
Yep.
give up.
All right.
So we
No.
got NCIS,
Simpsons.
Lassie,
From 89 till now.
Gunsmoke.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
So that's
number
like
1, Simpsons.
30.
Wow.
years.
From
That's
89 to
I
now.
remember when it started.
So that's like
Law and Order Special
Wow, it's been
Victims
going on a
Unit
long
started
time.
in
Yeah.
I remember
99.
when it started.
Okay.
Still ongoing.
Law and Order
Gunsmoke, we
Special
got that one.
Victims
Law and
Unit started in
Order
99.
originally ran
Okay.
from
Still ongoing.
1990 to
Gunsmoke, we got
2010,
that
but
one.
before it
Law
started
and
again
Order
last
Law and
year.
Order is on
originally
there
ran
twice?
from 1990 to 2010.
Law and Order
but
is
before it
no. I'm
started
just
again
telling
last
you.
So Law and
year.
Order is on there twice?
You actually didn't guess Law and Order.
Law and Order. is-
Family
no,
Guy,
I'm just telling you.
59.
okay.
Sorry,
You actually
99 to
didn't guess Law
present.
and Order.
Lassie.
Family
NCIS,
Guy.
Grey's
59
Anatomy.
Sorry, 99 to
American
present.
Dad. That's the only one I've never heard of.
NCIS.
And
Grey's
CSI.
Anatomy.
Crime Scene
American Dad.
Investigation.
That's the only one I've never heard of.
So,
And CSI.
The procedural drama is like the long running
Crime
things.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well,
So,
here
The
I thought
procedural
that
drama
would
is
be
like the long running.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well,
you know, hey,
here I thought
it's
that
us.
would be.
Sorry.
Okay, we're not as.
Yeah. Well, consider.
All right,
Hey,
so thank
that's
you
us.
very much.
Okay, we're not as.
We're gonna close out the program.
All right,
Tomorrow
so
is the
thank
feast
you
day
very
of St.
much,
Thomas Aquinas.
and we're going to close out the program.
So
Tomorrow
these
is the
are not
feast day of
that
St. Thomas
challenging.
Aquinas.
These are things that
Okay,
you
so
remember,
these are
or
not
it's
that
like,
challenging. These are things that
So I'm just gonna.
you either
I'm just
remember
gonna
or it's like,
first
oh,
person
I
to
should
say it.
Okay.
Gets a point.
So
There's 14
I'm
of
just
them.
gonna first person to say it
and,
gets a
here
point.
we
There's
go.
14 of them.
Okay.
And
let's see.
here we go.
What century
Okay.
did St. Thomas Aquinas live?
Let's see.
was
What
he said it first.
century
I stumbled
did
over my
St. Thomas
words.
Aquinas
I
live?
almost said
13th.
12th, and I was like, no, it's 1200.
I stumbled over my
What
words.
religious
I
order
almost
did
said
he
12th, and I was like, no, it's 1200.
Yeah.
Okay. What religious order did he belong to?
Dominicans.
What was his nickname
I'll
according
give that
to
one
his
to
fellow
The
students?
Dummocks.
Yeah, okay.
What was his nickname according to his fellow
The
His
students?
Dummocks.
other nickname is
Fellow
the
students.
blank
Yeah.
doctor.
The
Okay.
angelic doctor.
Okay.
Angelic
His
doctor,
other
yes.
nickname is the
William,
blank
you got some
doctor.
catching
The
up to
angelic
do.
doctor.
Who was his
Angelic
primary
doctor, yes.
mentor and teacher?
William, you got some catching up to do.
No, it's no,
Who
it's
was
no,
his
it's
primary
what's his
mentor
name?
and teacher?
St. Ambrose?
No, it's what's up? Oh,
No.
what's his
St.
name?
Bonaventure?
Oh gosh, what was
Mentor
his
and
name?
teacher? Anybody out there who
Oh.
wants to
St.
give?
Augustine.
No, who was his mentor?
No.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
Mentor and teacher? Anybody out there? who
Oh.
wants
St.
to-
Augustine?
Really, really hard.
No.
He did-
No.
he did,
Oh, wait, no, that was Wick.
Go to
His
school.
His primary.
I was gonna say, he did good. I
He
almost
did.
said
He
Bonaventure
did.
myself, but that
Go to
wasn't
school
same
with
class.
him.
Was it a pope?
Yeah, I was gonna say he did good. I almost
No.
did Bonaventure myself.
They
but that
graduated in the
wasn't-
same class.
Was it a
Can you
pope?
imagine
Was it a
that?
pope?
Wait, St.
This is
Dominic?
the guy who
No.
actually
No.
taught him.
I mean, obviously Dominic would
He's
have
the
been a
one that
mentor,
said,
but this is
we
the
call
guy
him
who
the
actually
Dumbox,
taught
the
him.
Dumbox.
You know, he's the one that said
What's his-
we call him the Dumbox, but that
Is it really well
Dumbox,
known?
the teachings of that
Oh,
Dumbox
what's
will
his
fellow.
Who was it?
Is it really well known?
Albertus.
Oh, okay, Forrest got
So
it.
Forrest
Yeah,
is
Forrest, Albertus.
Okay.
Albert
he's
the
on
Great.
the
Okay, so Forrest is on the
Okay.
Oh, he's off the board.
Cecil 3, Forrest 1,
let's
William
see.
1.
Well, this
Okay.
will get- we have 2 points here.
Let's see.
The 2 people
well,
most
this will
quoted in the
get.
Summa.
We'll have 2 points
Oh,
here. The 2 people most quoted in the Summa.
Not Plato.
Aristotle.
Aristotle. Dang it, I got it.
Okay. And who else?
No, Socrates. Not
God.
Plato.
Aristotle.
No, Aristotle.
Aristotle.
I
Okay.
Scripture is
And who
number
else?
one, but that's that.
God.
No,
No,
there's
Jesus.
another one. There's Aristotle and
The
somebody
scripture
else.
is number one, but that's that. No, there's another one.
He
There's
didn't really
Aristotle
like
and somebody
Plato,
else.
or he didn't really follow
Socrates?
Plato's philosophy.
No, he didn't really like
Anybody- let's
Plato,
see if
or he
anybody
didn't really
is
follow
guessing it
Plato's
here.
philosophy.
Forrest, man, where are you?
Anybody, let's see if
Hold on,
anybody
hold
is
on.
guessing it here.
Aristotle
Forrest,
and-
man,
Is
where
it
are you?
another philosopher?
Hold on.
Is it another philosopher?
Aristotle and okay,
Is it another
he said Averroes.
Oh,
Is it
Augustine.
another philosopher?
Yes,
Philosopher,
yes,
theologian.
yeah, Augustine.
Augustine.
Okay.
that's right.
Yeah, Augustine.
That makes sense.
Augustine. Augustine.
Okay, this one, just whoever's
Did
closest,
he have like
one
9 or
guess,
something?
okay?
It was a lot.
How many
9,
siblings
13.
did Aquinas have?
Did he have like 9 or something?
Okay, your guess is 9.
13.
Three brothers,
8.
5 sisters.
Oh!
So got it.
Okay, this
Three brothers, 5 sisters.
Let's see.
Okay,
It is
this
believed
one,
that St. Thomas Aquinas had
let's
a
see.
lifelong fear
It is
of-
believed
thunderstorms.
that St. Thomas Aquinas had
Did
a
he have an
lifelong
accident during a
fear
thunderstorm or
of
something like
Oh,
that?
What they
thunderstorms.
say.
thunderstorm.
Why
Did he have an
run away
accident during a
from home?
thunderstorm or something like
Because
that?
they were
So
trying
they say,
to
why did he run away
or they
from
didn't
home?
want him to become a
Because they were trying
become a
to
I didn't say
Dominican.
why
get him
did
to
they
marry
lock him
somebody.
up. I said
Or they
why
didn't want
did
him
he
to
run
become
away?
Because he wanted to
It was-
become
I didn't say why did they lock him
Okay.
up. I said
Yes.
why did he run
I
away?
got there.
There you go.
Okay,
Yes.
so-
Okay, so okay, here we go. Number 10.
Oh, for
Other than the
heaven's
Summa
sake.
Theologia, what was the name of
it's
the
Summa
other
Gen-
famous
Oh,
Summa?
for heaven's
Gentiles?
sake.
I bet somebody else.
Summa
So amazing. I remember
Summa
that.
contra gentiles.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Summa
Summa
contra gentiles.
Okay, I messed up.
It's the Summa against the pagans, right?
Ooh, I'm gonna
Which
say-
century was he canonized?
I'm gonna say the.
Ooh,
I was
I'm
gonna
gonna
say.
say.
I'm gonna say the 15th.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say the
Is it by
16th.
14th.
Oh, okay. I
Okay.
thought it was pretty soon.
Yeah,
It was
just
pretty
say-
soon.
Is it by close?
It's 14th.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
okay.
pretty soon.
Yeah, just it was
pretty soon.
1323, so within about 50 years.
Okay, this is kind of-
Not just.
No, because you're too far ahead. Okay, now this is
Not just.
I know. It's like you stop counting like touchdowns when the team's too far ahead. Let's see. Okay, in which country would one find most of St. Thomas Aquinas' remains?
Oh, is it we're both
Italy?
guessing?
Okay, Italy is
I'll
not
say
right.
Italy.
Italy?
France?
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 Okay, Italy is not right, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's some
France.
Remains are currently
France,
in the convent
yes.
of the Jacobins
Gosh.
in
Goodness,
Toulouse,
yes.
France.
His remains are currently
Except
in
for
the
a
convent
rib
of the
bone
Jacobins
in
in
Aquino,
Toulouse,
Italy, and an
France,
arm bone in
except for a
Naples.
rib bone
Okay, so you're right,
in
but
Aquino,
most of
Italy,
By the way,
and
Forrest
an
is doing
arm
very
bone
well.
in Naples.
We're just like ahead
Okay,
of
so
him
you're
on
right, but
time.
most of them
By the
are
way,
Okay.
Forrest is doing
Lightning,
very
he got,
well.
they
We're
wanted him
just
to be a
like ahead of
Benedictine
him
was
on
another reason
time.
why he
But he
ran
got
away.
lightning. He got,
And
they
then
wanted him to
he
be a
also got his
Benedictine
other
was
book,
another reason
and
why
he
he
took
ran
France.
away.
So.
Take those
And
away
then
from you in
it also
4
got
minutes.
his book and he took
So
France.
I'm
I
going to take
will only
those
win to
away from you
lose to
in 4
Forrest.
No.
minutes.
I mean, I will only win to lose to
You will
Forrest
find
here.
Okay, in Rome, you will find the Pontifical Academy of St. Thomas Aquinas, which was established in the Vatican in 1879 by Pope Leo XIII. What is the common name of this school in Rome, where many
Oh my God.
many
I'm sure we
seminarians
have.
They'll say,
study,
okay, there's
and
the
they.
North American
Oh, I know
College,
you've
those
probably
are called
heard
the
I'm
this.
sure we have.
They'll say,
Seminarians
okay,
will
there's the
study
North
in
American College,
North American
they're called the
College.
NAC. Okay, so
I bet you when I
seminarians will
say it,
study
you're
at the
gonna say,
NAC,
yeah, I've heard
North
of
American
European
College.
It's in Rome.
I bet you when I
It's
say
called
it, you're
the
going to say, oh,
Angelical.
yeah, I've heard
The European
Oh,
College?
It's in
yeah.
Rome.
I have heard
It's
of
in
that.
Rome.
I
It's
have
called
that.
the
Didn't realize-
Seminarians studying at
Oh,
the
Have you
Angelical.
never heard of that?
Yeah.
I have heard of that.
Yeah,
Didn't
the
realize-
seminarian study at the
Oh,
Angelical.
Forrest got that. We
it.
didn't give him
Oh,
that
didn't
point.
get it.
Man,
That's
okay,
one.
but not the other ones.
We didn't get
Okay,
it.
you didn't get it.
He
Okay,
didn't
so
get it.
Forrest. Okay, two more. When St. Thomas Aquinas stopped writing the Summa, who finished
Yeah,
it
his
for
scribe,
him?
but I don't remember his name. Hang on.
Was it a saint?
It was his
Yes, he
scribe.
does.
Yeah, his
Remember
scribe,
his
I don't remember
name?
his name.
Let's see if Forrest gets this one.
Yeah, see if he does.
Okay, if Forrest gets this one, I'm just going to give him the overall
Is it like a
50.
name? Is it a name that we'd remember? Like, easy or no?
Is it a name that we remember? Is it A or no? Is it not really?
I don't know. I mean, I know it because
Is it with an A?
no.
Okay, you wouldn't have got
It's
that one.
Reginald
Yeah, of course. I
David
remember that one
Herrick.
either.
This one I find.
Okay, you wouldn't have gotten that one.
amazing.
Okay, now this one I find
No
just
idea.
amazing, and I
It
don't know if there's
said,
any verification
Thomas
of this, but I had
was
no
known to
idea.
be a very large man.
It said
He was
Thomas
said to be
was
about
known to be a very large man.
X.
Yeah.
He was said to be about
Okay.
6'3".
X
What do you say?
tall.
Whoever's closest.
Okay,
6'3".
So you say he was 6'3".
What do you say? Whoever's closest. So you say he was 6'3".
I'm gonna say
Actually 6'6".
6'8".
Whoa.
That's a tall guy.
Actually,
and he also was
6'6".
very big.
That's a tall guy, and he also was very big.
Yeah.
So he was a big dude.
Right.
Right?
Imagine him
He was just
having
kind
a
of like a
theological
lumbering.
debate.
They called him
Yeah.
the
Imagine he was just kind of like a lumbering. They called him the dumb ox because he was kind of quiet.
Hey, Forrest is 6'5".
Okay, so now we're
6'5",
going
so-
got the highest.
Man, Forrest is like rocking
place
this.
Wow.
for this
Okay,
contest,
so now we're going to award
Third
the
place
first, second, and
goes
third
probably
place
to
for this
William.
contest.
Okay,
Okay.
so congratulations.
Third
You
place
got third
goes
place, okay?
probably
Second
to
place
William.
goes to
Okay, so
Sissel.
congratulations, you got third place. Okay. Second place goes to Sissel.
I didn't get second place.
I'm joking.
Honestly,
I'm
I would
joking.
have just sat here going like,
Okay,
oh, I
so
didn't
Forrest
get
gets
second
second
place
place.
because I'm terrible at keeping track of scores.
Right. Okay, so Forrest gets second
Look
place.
at that, it's
Sissel
2:03,
gets
so
first
time to
place.
wrap
Okay,
up.
all right.
Okay, I'm gonna
And
have a less
look at that. It's
densely
2:03, so
philosophical
time to
topic
wrap up.
next week,
Okay, I'm going to have a less
I think,
densely
I
philosophical
William's
topic
going
next
home,
week.
and
Okay.
he's having to
I
sleep
think
the whole week,
William's
and he
going
says,
home,
"Mom, Dad,
and
I'm
he's
just-
having to sleep the
I
whole
can't.
week.
It's too
And
much
he
philosophy
says,
for
"Mom,
me
Dad, I'm
and this
just
internship."
I can't.
It's too much philosophy for
All
me
right,
and this
thanks, everybody.
internship.
Thanks to Victor and Mary.
All right. Well,
for
thanks
the
everybody.
program.
Thanks Forrest and
God
Victor
bless
and
you,
Mary
thanks,
and all the
Diane,
folks that
Sissel,
commented
and
on the
William.
program.
We'll see you next week. Back
God
to
bless
the
you,
Father.
and
God
thanks
bless you.
Diane, Sissel, and William. We'll see you.
Thanks for joining us for Back to the Father. And don't forget, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. If you have comments about the show, email Dave Palmer at grnonline.com.